Alright then, this is the power supply for the soundbar. So I took out the primary side capacitors, I took out the chopper MOSFET as well, which is mounted on that heatsink, and on the primary there's also the PWM controller chip IC that you'll see down there. So I took that out, and this capacitor here, this electrolytic capacitor, is the startup capacitor, so I had to take that out as well as a couple of these to give me some decent access to the IC. Incidentally, on the primary capacitors there was only 2 capacitors fitted, and there's a space for a third. So what I did was, after I had identified all these parts, I went off and placed an order, with the RS or whatever online, and I thought I might as well populate all 3 back. Not all of the parts needed replacing, I'm sure, but the thing is that when I was placing an order, I thought I might as well order all the sort of primary suspects. So there's all the parts back again, and just a little tip for some switch mode power supply work. So I'm actually got the input, the mains input, connected to my bench power supply here, and what we can do is we can power the power supply with about 30 volts. So I've got the input here is about 30 volts, and I've set a current limit to 100 milliamps. And this is a relatively safe way to test the power supply without plugging it up onto the mains, particularly once you've had a couple of beers. This is a smart move. The output of the PSU I've put onto my multimeter here. Let me see if I can get this somewhere into shot. There we go. And the output is clipped on here and here. So let's turn on the power supply. On, and there was a little click initially as the power supply hit the current limit, just to charge up these capacitors. But now it's started up, you might be able to see that the current limit is occasionally flashing, and that corresponds with the voltage here. It falls down to about 15.1 and then suddenly rises up to 15.8 or something along that lines. And what this PWM driver chip does is that it has a special mode where if there isn't any load on the output of the power supply, it will just give a short pulse to the chopper MOSFET, which just brings the secondary stage up to its output voltage, and then it just lets it fall and sees how long it takes to fall. So it's like an extremely low power standby mode. Now actually, if we put on a little bit of load on the output, I'll put this is about 500 ohms resistor on here. Not connected properly. Let's try that again. I'm actually going to bend the legs over and see if I can get that in here. Alright, the power supply is struggling to start up properly, as I've got a current limit on the set on the bench power supply. I'll turn that up. There you go, and the power supply is running now. So you see we're delivering 13 volts at 22 milliamps. The output is staying steady at 15.8 volts. So the power supply has actually started operating properly, and we can see that the output voltage is being held steady at its regulated state. Incidentally, when I identified the chip, I looked at the data sheet for it. It's a Fairchild 6300H, and this circuit here, obviously we're trying to fix this without any schematics, but one thing you'll find is that the circuit is extremely similar to the application circuit given in the data sheet. So I'm actually just going to remove this load as it's starting. And so that helps a lot with debugging. What I was actually able to do is, I'll have to show you a little trick, but you can actually inject voltage in the secondary side and measure the feedback to the chip and check that the feedback circuitry is working correctly, and of course identify the nominal output voltage of this power supply board. But anyhow, I'm happy with that. I'm going to now connect it to the mains to try it on with a larger load. Alright, here goes. I've got about 10 ohms of resistance load connected onto the output. This is the output voltage, and we're ready for the test. Mains input test. I've still got my temporary fuse wired in, so let me plug it into the mains and hold my beer. There you go, 15.7 volts. Load resistors are starting to get warm. So we've got quite happy with that. Alright, disconnect the mains. Good, I think we're ready to fit this back into the soundbar. Oh, I need to sort out the fuse anyway. Oh, good.